It was a close shave with relegation for Leeds last season. They survived. What now? Having secured a highly impressive 9th place in their first season up, it was hard going for Leeds United last season. The only real new faces added were James and Firpo, with the squad already fairly slim behind that first 11. In late February, what had seemed unthinkable happened, and the thrilling era of Marcelo Bielsa came to an end. He left Leeds 2 points outside the bottom 3, but with challengers having games in hand. Jesse Marsch replaced the Argentine. He had 12 games and one job: by any means necessary, keep Leeds in the Premier League. And they did survive, but it was nail-biting stuff as Leeds went into the final day of the Premier League in the bottom 3, but got over the line with a dramatic away win at Brentford. In the very binary terms we set out for Marsch, he has to get a tick in the box for part 1 of his work at Leeds. 15 points across his 12 games was enough, and Leeds didn't buckle under rather significant pressure from Burnley during that run-in. As is true with any club, relegation would have been disastrous financially, but now Leeds have a chance to properly start their new era under Jesse Marsch in the Premier League. We'll have a look at what that looks like next, but first, do me a favour, hit the like button and support the video and the channel. Marsch will now have a full pre-season to try and implement the tactical ideas that he was attempting to get across during a relegation battle. The new boss had said on his arrival that Leeds players were overtrained. The shape moved to a more 4-2-3-1 looking system, and the famous Bielsa man-for-man pressing is now zonal pressing. Whoever took over as manager from Bielsa was always going to be following a very unique system of football, and we'll find out over the course of time whether Marsch and his new strategy is going to work. The key lesson Leeds probably learned during their brush with relegation last season is that of personnel, numbers and squad balance. And when key players went missing for Leeds due to injury last season, the squad simply couldn't cope. Absentees included the top scorer, Patrick Bamford, who only started 7 games. Key central midfielder and England man Calvin Phillips made just 18 starts. And the captain, Liam Cooper, only started 21 times at centre-half. So I think it's fair to say that Leeds need themselves a bit of a squad refresh now for multiple reasons. The first one seems very simple and brainless. They basically need more numbers in there. I think last season proved the squad was just a little bit too small to cope with the demands of the second season of Premier League football. They also now need to serve the tactical needs of the new boss and buy players that are going to fit his system. Teams and squads and clubs tend to work in sort of 3-year cycles, and last season Leeds were actually still reliant on getting big input from the likes of Cooper, Ailing, Phillips, Click, Bamford, Dallas and Harrison, all players present in Bielsa's first season in charge 4 years ago and 1 division lower. That squad does need sprucing up, doesn't it? The squad strengthening over at Ellen Road has already begun nice and early in the window, with Jesse Marsch going to former club Red Bull Salzburg for 2 of 3 new players. Midfielder Brendan Aronson and right back Rasmus Christensen have come in. Mark Rocker arrives from Bayern Munich in central midfield as a player talented enough to get a move to the German Giants, but unable to force his way into a regular first-team spot there. The reported fees for the 3 arrivals so far total £50 million. And although there's clearly calibre there and obvious potential upside, the Premier League is a unique beast, and it should be pointed out that none have played in the division before. There's always a sense in the top level of English football that standing still is actually akin to going backwards. And when you take into account the injuries to Ailing and Dallas in Christensen's area of the pitch, and Rocker is going to be adding to central midfield, which is acknowledged as an area Leeds have been light, frankly, for about 3 years, Those two just feel like basic squad maintenance, I think, which is necessary, of course. Perhaps Aronson might be a bit more of a game changer further up the pitch in terms of improving on what's already in situ. And you'd think there'll be more players coming in during the summer. Firpo didn't really set the world alight at left back last season, and I think it was patently obvious to everybody watching, Leeds are very, very light in the striker area of their squad. We all know that transfers work in both directions, and all of these incomings could have a very different context depending on the future of Leeds' two most saleable assets. Calvin Phillips is strongly linked with a move away to Manchester City, and Raphinha to Barcelona. Phillips has been outstanding over a number of years in central midfield, and Raphinha, really since the moment he walked in, has been hugely effective and carried much of the attacking burden in the absence of Patrick Bamford last season. We saw the likes of Aston Villa and Norwich lose their star players last summer, Grealish and Buendia, and try to replace that player's output with multiple signings in. I would suggest it definitely didn't work at Norwich, and the fact Villa took Coutinho mid-season maybe suggests that that strategy didn't work there either. If one or both of those players leave and Leeds do then go down the safety in numbers route, that could start to get problematic. We're talking about a squad that, even with Raphinha and Phillips, probably needed 4 or 5 additions in the summer. If they then go safety in numbers to replace one or both of those players, we could be talking about 7 or 10 arrivals, and things start to get very chaotic. Obviously, high quality players don't grow on trees, but you think, particularly if both players left, at least one marquee like-for-like signing would be needed as a replacement. The Leeds rebuild is going to be very interesting. Some smart decisions are going to be needed to be made if things are going to work out well, but it should be seen as an opportunity rather than something to be scared of, I think. The best case scenario here is that Jesse Marsch gets his ideas across and they work. New signings hit the ground running, and if big players go, that net quality deficit isn't seen and Leeds are able to push up the table. The worst case scenario, of course, is that Marsch either doesn't get his ideas across or he does get them across and they don't work. The new faces then don't have an impact, and a big departure or two, meaning a quality deficit. And we all know there wasn't much room below where Leeds finished and where they don't want to be finishing next season. Get involved down there in the comments. How do you see the rebuild under Jesse Marsch at Ellen Road panning out next season? And will Leeds be moving up or down from their 17th place Premier League finish last season? For a bit more background on this story, why not click right here, where you'll see my reaction to the end of the Bielsa era at Leeds back in February.